The first time my childhood sweetheart's werewolf traits awakened, his friends called me to help calm him down. But what they didn't know was that I heard him say, "I can't waste my first mark on her," Leo growled, his voice a mix of agony and determination. A werewolf's bond is eternal. The first one we claim is our mate for life. When Chloe shows up, I'll have to fight every instinct, even if she throws herself at me. He didn't know I was standing there, frozen in the moonlight, breath caught in my throat. He didn't know his older brother's bodyguard, Marcus, had been blowing up my phone with desperate messages. "Miss Hayes, please. The young master bonded you years ago. He's in agony. A kiss from you could save him." 5 years earlier, a skiing accident had nearly stolen my life. It was Leo's older brother, Matthew, who saved me. In a forbidden ritual, he shared his werewolf essence, gifting me half his lifespan to pull me back from death's edge. That secret had bound us, a thread I hadn't fully understood until now. That night, as Leo's words cut through me like glass, I made my choice. Slipping away from the cabin, I dialed Marcus. My voice came out steady, laced with a new kind of fire. "Send me the address. I'm coming to help Matthew." Then, after a pause, I leaned closer to the phone and added, my tone low and edged with heat, "And Marcus, tell me, how long has Matthew been hiding his feelings from me?" Leo's family was steeped in werewolf lore, their bloodline ancient and unyielding. After their 20th birthday, the full moon awakened a primal heat, a force that demanded they claim a mate. The first mark was sacred, binding them forever. I had always believed Leo would choose me, the childhood companion who'd loved him through scraped knees, summer nights, and whispered secrets beneath starlit skies. So when his friends called that night, their voices tight with panic, I dropped everything. "Leo's in pain, Chloe. He needs you. Please hurry." I raced to the cabin, my heart a storm of fear and fragile hope. But before I could reach him, I stopped short, his voice spilling through the cracked door. "God, I can't let it be Chloe," Leo muttered, frustration thick in his tone. "I've got my sights on Isabel. She's the queen of the school, untouchable. Not like Chloe, always trailing after me like some lovesick puppy." His friends' laughter cut like knives. "So, what? She's just your backup plan?" One jeered. "A toy you keep on a leash? Call her off then," another sneered. "Why let her think she's got a shot? She's probably already dreaming about locking you down." Leo's sigh was ragged, torn between pride and the heat consuming him. "No, don't call her off. We grew up together. I don't want to crush her like that. She's still special, in her own way. I'll just hold back when she gets here. Maybe she'll finally get the hint." The words sank like stones into my chest. Special.
A toy. Pity.
My nails bit into my palms as fury and humiliation burned through me. How dare he reduce me to this? An afterthought. A girl he strung along. But I didn't storm in. I didn't scream. I turned on my heel, the night air stinging my face. "Don't cry," I chanted to myself. "Don't you dare let him see you break." And then I remembered Marcus's call, the urgency in his voice, the truth he had let slip. My hands shook as I scrolled to his number. "Marcus," I said, steady now, though my insides trembled. "That offer to help Matthew, is it still open? Text me the address. I'm on my way." I slid into my car, the engines hum a promise of escape. The truth settled like a weight, but not a burden, more like clarity. Leo might have been my past, but Matthew, enigmatic, guarded, and bound to me by something far greater, was my future. And, tonight, I was ready to claim it. Half an hour earlier, before I ever reached Leo's cabin, my world had already shifted. Marcus's voice had been low, urgent, unraveling a truth that shook me to the core. "Miss Hayes, do you remember that winter 5 years ago? The skiing trip with Leo, when you fell into the ravine?" My stomach twisted at the memory, jagged cliffs, the bite of snow, and darkness swallowing me whole. "You were gone," Marcus said. 3 days and nights under the snow. No breath, no pulse. "We thought we'd lost you." I pressed a trembling hand to my chest. "What are you saying?" "Master Matthew led the search. He wouldn't rest, wouldn't eat, until he found you. When we did, Leo was a wreck, clutching you, sobbing, but he wouldn't act. There's an ancient rite. A blood bond, under the full moon. It lets a werewolf give half their lifespan to save their mate, binding them forever. Leo knew it could save you, but he refused." My breath caught. Leo, who had once sworn forever under the summer stars, had let me slip away. It was Master Matthew who stepped in, Marcus continued, his voice softening. That night, the full moon burned bright. He performed the bond, spilling his blood to tether your soul to his. Half his life given to you. In that moment, he marked you as his eternal mate. For him, there can never be another. I sank onto the edge of my bed, my thoughts spinning like leaves in a storm. Matthew, the eldest son of the clan, the man everyone called the Ice King for his ruthless calm, had been the one who saved me. For 5 years, he'd carried that secret, enduring every full moon's torment alone, never once reaching out to claim what the bond entitled him to. Leo begged him to keep it from you, Marcus admitted quietly. Master Matthew forbade us from telling you, no matter the cost. But tonight, he's been gravely wounded. A rogue pack ambushed him, and with the full moon's pull, he's slipping away. Without you, Miss Hayes, he won't survive. Please, I'm breaking every order to beg you, come to him. The world seemed to pause, the air suddenly too heavy to breathe. I had died, and Leo, the boy I'd wrapped my dreams around, had chosen his pride, his future, over my life. Meanwhile, Matthew, who barely spoke to me, who moved through the world like a shadow, had given me half his years to pull me back from the brink. I'm sorry, I whispered into the phone, my voice small but resolute. Leo needs me tonight. I have to go to him. I hung up, ignoring the ache carving its way through my chest, and raced to Leo's side, only to hear him call me a lapdog, a toy he could discard without a thought. Now, standing in the cold night air, the sting of his betrayal burning through me, the truth hit sharp and merciless. I'd been a fool, blind to reality, chasing a boy who saw me as nothing while another had given everything to keep me alive. My fingers trembled as I wiped at the tears that dared to fall. Then slowly, my resolve hardened like steel. I dialed Marcus back. My voice was raw, but steady. Is it still possible to help Matthew? To repay what he did for me? I paused, swallowing hard. If he needs me tonight, I'll be there. I'll give him whatever he needs to survive. Marcus's relief was immediate, almost overwhelming. It's not too late, Miss Hayes. I'm sending you the location now. If Master Matthew wasn't on the brink, I'd never have defied his orders. The family's punishments are severe. He didn't want you to feel obligated, to think you owed him your life. I nodded, though he couldn't see me, my chest tightening with a tangle of gratitude and guilt. Matthew hadn't saved me to bind me. He'd done it because it was right, because he couldn't let me go. This wasn't about rebounding from one brother to another. It was about a debt, a life for a life. Sliding into my car, the address glowing on my phone, I felt something ignite within me. The road ahead was uncertain, shadowed by the weight of a bond one hadn't chosen but couldn't deny. Yet tonight, I would face Matthew not as someone in his debt, but as someone ready to stand by his side, to offer what I could in return for the half-life he had given me. The hospital's VIP wing was all sterile white walls and hushed urgency, a quiet battlefield of whispered orders. But nothing could have prepared me for the scene awaiting me. As I neared Matthew's room, a familiar figure blocked the doorway. Isabel, the golden girl of our school, flawless even under the harsh fluorescent lights. Her perfection had cracked, though, desperation twisting her voice sharp. "Let me in," she cried, clawing at the frame. "It's the full moon, isn't it? Matthew needs someone, why not me? Let me help him." A bitter laugh slipped past my lips before I could stop it. Leo had called her untouchable, not the easy type. Yet here she was unraveling, desperate for a place at Matthew's side. Marcus caught sight of me then, and his stern mask softened instantly, relief shining in his eyes. "Miss Hayes, thank God you're here," he said, swinging the door open with purpose. "Please go in. The master needs you tonight." Isabel's head snapped toward me, her perfect face twisted with venom. She spat. "Why does she get to go in? He's like this because of her. She's a curse, a walking disaster. How can you let her near him again?" Her words hit like a slap, freezing me where I stood. Saving me again? What did she mean by again? My mind whirled with questions, but before I could speak, Marcus ushered me inside. The door clicked shut behind us, cutting off Isabel's shrill protests. The room was chaos wrapped in silence. Matthew lay sprawled on the bed, bare-chested, face down, his powerful frame racked with fever. His dark hair clung to his forehead, slick with sweat, his hands gripping the sheets so tightly his knuckles were white. Bandages wrapped his back, but they were already drenched, crimson spreading in jagged stains. The sight stole my breath. Matthew, the unyielding Ice King, the man who commanded fear with a glance, reduced to this. Vulnerable.
Broken.
A doctor hovered nearby, his voice cracking with frustration. Matthew, for the love of God, stop fighting it. You need a woman to ease the heat. Any woman. These bandages were fresh, and they're already ruined. Your blood's too agitated under the full moon, the coagulants aren't working. If you don't relieve this fever, you'll bleed out before dawn. His gaze whipped toward the guards. Where's the girl you said could save him? The bodyguards, stationed like statues of iron, moved as one. They bowed deeply, their reverence sending a shiver up my spine. Doctor, one said firmly, she's here. At that, Matthew's eyes snapped open. Crimson burned in their depths, wild and primal. They locked on me, shock flashing for a heartbeat before his expression hardened into fury. Who brought her here? He roared, his voice hoarse but commanding. Get her out now. Marcus bowed his head, unflinching. I did, sir. If Miss Hayes can save you tonight, I'll take whatever punishment you give me. You were injured saving her life, again. You've risked everything for her twice, and you won't even take credit. You may not feel wronged, sir, but we do. For you. My breath caught as my eyes darted to Matthew. Growing up, I had gravitated to Leo's warmth, but Matthew had been a different force entirely. Cold, untouchable, the Ice King whose silence was louder than words. His presence alone made the boldest shrink. I had avoided him, uneasy in the face of his unshakable control. Yet here he was, burning with fever, his breath shallow, his body straining against pain. The contrast struck me like a current, this fallen titan whose vulnerability only made him more magnetic. I swallowed hard, my voice barely a whisper. What do they mean you were hurt because of me again? A bodyguard opened his mouth, but Matthew's voice sliced through the air like a blade. Silence, he thundered, his eyes flashing crimson. One more word, and you'll regret it. Then, softer, almost pleading, he turned his gaze to me. Chloe, go. I don't need you here. Another guard, bolder than the rest, stepped forward. His tone was edged with defiance. Sir, enough. Your stubbornness won't win her over. You act like you're carved from stone, but we've seen the truth. When it comes to Miss Hayes, you're soft as wax. You'd walk through fire for her, and you did. Literally. My heart stuttered. Fire? Saving me again? I stared at Matthew, the man whose crimson eyes were locked onto mine, and I saw the war raging inside him. The man who had given me half his life 5 years ago, who had carried that secret in silence, was now fighting for his own, yet still trying to push me away. But I wasn't leaving. Not this time. The room pulsed with a tension so thick it was hard to breathe. Matthew's bodyguards, usually quiet shadows, had turned into a relentless chorus. Last full moon, one barked, his voice thick with exasperation, who was clutching his phone, staring at Miss Hayes' picture like a lovesick fool. You murmured her name in your fever, sir. Over and over. Another guard jumped in, his voice sharp. And, the month before? You parked outside her dorm all night, gripping the door handle, ready to go in. You forced yourself to stay put, but you were breaking apart inside. If we don't speak now, she'll never know. A third guard added fiercely. Are you really going to waste away like this forever? Matthew lowered his head, his voice rough with fatigue. Enough. I can handle it. But his words, stripped of their usual steel, trembled at the edges. The doctor snapped, tearing at the ruined bandages. Handle it? You're bleeding out, you stubborn fool. You won't see sunrise. His wild eyes shot to me. Miss Hayes, don't just stand there. Do something. Help him. The guards bowed again, desperate, their faces etched with resolve. My knees felt weak, my pulse erratic. I don't know what to do, I whispered. The doctor didn't hesitate. Kiss him. My breath caught. My cheeks flamed. Kiss him? Here, in front of everyone? With Matthew, the untouchable Ice King, burning and broken on the bed? His sheer presence made the room feel too small, too suffocating. Before I could think, a bodyguard spoke again, his words striking like lightning. Do you know how he got like this? 2 nights ago, your university's auditorium caught fire. You were trapped, unconscious, seconds from death. His voice dropped, thick with emotion. It was Master Matthew who went in after you. The bond pulled him to you. A burning beam crushed his back as he carried you out, searing his flesh, but he didn't stop. He fought through it. And then Leo swooped in, took you from his arms, and stole the credit. If Leo truly cared, why didn't he run into the flames? The truth hit me like a tidal wave. 2 nights ago, I had woken to Leo's gentle words and believed he had saved me. But it was Matthew. Always Matthew. And he had never spoken of it, never claimed the sacrifice that nearly cost him his life. Something inside me snapped into place. There was no more hesitation. I leaned down, closing the distance, and pressed my lips firmly to his. "Don't," he growled, his voice low and raw, but he didn't move. His hands clutched the sheets tighter, his throat bobbing, his crimson eyes blazing with a storm of emotions: anger, desire, restraint. His strength was still there, undeniable, but beneath it was a vulnerability that pulled me in. His voice, cold as ever, cut the air. "Chloe, you don't know what you're doing.
You've always avoided me.
Don't do this out of pity, or because you think you owe me. Their words mean nothing. You could kiss me 1,000 times, and I'd feel nothing." But the doctor's voice rose in triumph. "It's working."
The bleeding slowing.
His eyes found mine, wild with hope. "Miss Hayes, kiss him again, mean it this time. His body doesn't lie, even if his mouth does." Matthew's pride cracked. His face twitched, and in a rare, unguarded gesture, he buried his head in the pillow. His ears, peeking through damp strands of hair, glowed red like embers. My heart skipped. The Ice King was blushing. That tiny glimpse of humanity, of a man hiding behind his walls, ignited something reckless in me. I leaned closer, my lips trembling with determination, and whispered, "Matthew, you saved my life.
Twice.
Let me save yours now." The room fell still, save for his ragged breathing and the steady beeps of the monitors. The heat radiating from him was overwhelming, his scent a heady mix of pine and storm that made my pulse race. And in his eyes, glacier red and burning, I saw the truth: desire, defiance, and a raw vulnerability that no wall of ice could hide. He shook his head, his jaw locked so tightly it looked ready to splinter. "You don't owe me anything, Chloe. Just leave. Please." His voice was sharp, but the cracks were there, faint yet undeniable. His body betrayed him. His trembling hands were still tangled in the sheets, his back wrapped in bandages that were no longer blooming with blood. The doctor had been right. My presence, my touch, was working. One of the bodyguards cleared his throat, stepping forward with reckless courage. "Sir, with all due respect, you're being a damn fool. Miss Hayes is right here, willing to help. Stop playing the martyr before you bleed out, and leave us to bury you." Matthew's glare could have turned bone to dust. "One more word," he growled, low and dangerous, "and you're all out of a job." But the men didn't flinch. They exchanged glances, silent agreement passing between them. Finally, the one who had first spoken to me, Marcus, stepped forward. His voice was calm, but laced with urgency. "Fire us if you must, sir, but we've seen you carry this torch for her for years. Do you think we didn't notice? The way your eyes softened whenever she was near? Or how you'd tear the world apart to keep her safe, even if it meant hiding in the shadows?" Heat burned across my cheeks. Matthew, longing for me all this time? The Ice King, who barely acknowledged me at family dinners, who made my pulse scatter just by walking into a room. Yet the puzzle pieces were falling together. The skiing accident, the fire, the silent nights he endured alone. A truth I had been too blind to see. I leaned in, my heart pounding so hard it hurt, and cupped his face in my hands. His skin was fever-hot under my palms. He stiffened, but didn't move away. "If kissing you is what it takes," I whispered, voice shaking yet resolute, "then let me." Before he could protest, I pressed my lips to his again, gentler this time, but with a stubborn insistence that refused to be denied. His mouth was fire, searing, unyielding. For a heartbeat he stayed rigid, stone carved into flesh. Then something inside him broke. A low, primal growl rumbled deep in his chest as his lips parted, answering mine with a hunger that set every nerve ablaze. The kiss turned fierce, desperate, like 2 storms colliding. My fingers tangled in his hair, his grip tightened at my waist, and the world narrowed to nothing but the searing current between us. The doctor let out a triumphant shout. "It's working. The fever's breaking. Don't stop, Miss Hayes, keep going." Matthew's hands finally tore free of the sheets. One slid into my hair, pulling me closer, as if afraid I'd vanish if he let go. The kiss deepened, shifting from desperate remedy into something raw, unguarded and alive. Salt from his sweat brushed my lips, his body trembling under mine, but the fever was fading. I could feel it. When at last we broke apart, gasping for breath, his eyes had softened, the fierce crimson dimming into a molten amber that held me in place. "Chloe," he rasped, his voice frayed. "You shouldn't have." "I wanted to." I cut in quickly, the words escaping before I could stop them. "And don't you dare tell me it meant nothing. Your body's already given you away." The bodyguards erupted into cheers, clapping one another's backs like they'd just won a battle. The doctor, sweating, grinned wide. "You're a miracle worker, Miss Hayes." The bleeding stopped cold. A few more minutes, and we might not have needed the stitches at all. Matthew collapsed back against the pillows, his eyes fluttering shut. For the first time, his face was free of that tortured tension, though exhaustion still clung to him like chains. The moment shattered as the door burst open. Isabel stormed in, her designer heels clicking against the tile, her face twisted with fury. "What the hell is going on here?" she shrieked, her gaze darting between Matthew and me. Her eyes lingered on my lips, still tingling from the kiss, and her voice cracked with disbelief. You kissed him?" "Isabel," Matthew said, his voice suddenly sharp as a blade. His eyes snapped open, amber light burning through them. "Get out.
Now."
But she ignored him, her venom snapping toward me. "How dare you? He doesn't need some desperate nobody like you. He needs someone who understands him. Someone like me." I steadied myself under her glare, my voice calm though my chest felt like it was splintering. "Leo's awakening. That's why his friends called me, to help him. But do you know what he said? He called me a lapdog, a toy not worth his mark." The color drained from Isabel's face. "You're lying. Leo would never." "Enough." Matthew's roar cut her off. He pushed himself upright, ignoring the doctor's shouts and the blood seeping through his fresh bandages. His voice trembled with fury and truth. "Your little game ends here, Isabel. Chloe is my mate. She always has been." The air went still, the words dropping like thunder. Isabel's jaw fell slack, disbelief scrawled across her face. "Your mate? But the blood bond, you did that for Leo." Matthew's gaze slid to me, and in it burned something I had never seen so bare. "I did it for her," he said quietly. "Leo begged me to keep it secret, because he knew I'd been in love with you long before that day in the snow." My breath caught, my heart stumbling over the words. "In love with me?" I whispered, my voice barely more than air. "Matthew, what are you saying?" "5 years ago," Matthew began, his voice low, rough with memory, "when I found you in that ravine, half frozen and slipping away. I couldn't let you go. Not just for Leo's sake, but because I'd been watching you for years. From a distance, always. You were this light, bright, fearless, alive in a way I never could be. I knew I had no right to you, Chloe, but the thought of a world without you," his voice cracked, breaking through his stoic mask. "I couldn't bear it." Tears burned at the corners of my eyes. Suddenly, all those inexplicable moments of comfort in the dark, all those times I felt a shadow at my back that steadied me, it had been him. Always him.
Silent. Watching. Protecting.
Isabel's laugh cut through the air, sharp and brittle. "This is absurd. Leo will never stand for this. He loves her." "No," I said, my voice steady as I laced my fingers through Matthew's. "He doesn't. And neither do you, Isabel. You're chasing the name, the power, the prestige. But it's over." The bodyguards moved in at last, firm but not unkind as they ushered her toward the door. Isabel fought, her shrieks echoing down the hall until they dissolved into a distant wail. Matthew sank back against the pillows, a wince tugging at his features. "Chloe," he murmured, almost pleading, "you don't have to stay. The bond ties me to you, but it doesn't bind you. You're free to choose Leo or anyone else." I shook my head, leaning down to brush a soft kiss across his fevered forehead. "I choose you, Matthew," I whispered, the words more vow than admission. "I think maybe I always have." His eyes widened, then softened, and for the first time, a smile, unmasked, unguarded, broke across his face. It transformed him, melting the Ice King into something achingly human. "Then stay," he breathed. "Please." The doctor cleared his throat, his tone edged with dry amusement. "All right, you two, enough theatrics for one night. If you're serious about helping him, Miss Hayes, you'll need to stay close. The full moon's pull lingers, and he's not out of danger yet." Heat rushed to my cheeks, But I nodded, careful as I slipped onto the bed beside Matthew. His hand found mine again, his grip weaker now but steady, grounding. "Thank you," he whispered, raw and unfiltered. "For everything." I nestled against his shoulder, cautious of his wounds, and let my eyes close. "No, Matthew," I murmured, heart swelling. "Thank you. For saving me, always." Morning crept through the blinds in pale gold, coaxing me awake. Matthew's arm draped heavy across me, his breathing deep and even. Peaceful for once. I lingered there, watching him, tracing the softened lines of his face. But hushed voices outside the door pulled me back to reality. Careful not to wake him, I slipped from the bed and cracked the door. The bodyguards stood in a tight circle, their expressions grim. "What's going on?" I whispered. Marcus turned, his eyes shadowed. "Miss Hayes, it's Leo. He didn't make it through the night." The heat overwhelmed him. Without a mate to ground him, he lost control, shifted fully, and hurt himself badly. My stomach plummeted. "Is he?" I couldn't force the word. "Alive," Marcus said quickly. "But barely. The doctors say only a mate's bond can stabilize him now." I glanced back at Matthew, asleep and serene, then down the hall toward Leo's room. My chest twisted. Anger, betrayal, and some lingering thread of care knotted together. "I'll go," I said finally, my voice steady though my knees felt weak. But not as his mate, as his friend. Marcus gave a slow nod. "Be careful. He's not himself." The walk felt endless. Each step dragged me deeper into the past I thought I'd left behind. Leo, the boy I once loved, the one who shattered me with his words. I couldn't let him die, not like this. When I entered, the air was thick with desperation. Leo writhed on the bed, his skin slick with sweat, his eyes glowing a feral gold. His friends hovered helplessly, fear etched into their faces. "Chloe," one of them cried, relief breaking through. "Thank God. You have to help him." Leo's gaze snapped to me.
Wild. Desperate.
A hunger burning in his eyes that made my blood run cold. "Chloe," he rasped, his voice shredded.
"Please. Help me."
"Mark me as yours." My pulse thundered. I stepped closer, but cautiously. "Leo, I heard you. Last night. You called me a lapdog. A toy you didn't want." Shame flickered across his face, raw and fleeting. "I didn't mean it," he choked out. The heat, it was tearing me apart. I didn't know what I was saying. "Chloe, please. Forgive me. Be my mate." Tears stung, but I stood firm.
"No, Leo."
"I can't. Not after everything. But I won't let you die." I turned to his friends. "Get Isabel. She's waiting outside. She wants him." Leo's eyes widened in horror.
"No."
"Chloe, don't." But the door flew open before he could finish. Isabel swept in, triumph blazing in her eyes. "Leo," she cried, rushing to his side. "I'm here. Let me help you." His thrashing slowed, instincts pulling him toward her, though his gaze clung to me. Pleading. Breaking. "Chloe," he whispered, his voice shattered. "I'm sorry, Leo," I said softly, my throat tightening around the words. "This is goodbye." I turned and walked out, closing the door on the boy I had once loved, on the fragile dreams I had spun around him. The weight of it pressed against my chest, but with each step back toward Matthew's room it began to ease, replaced by something steadier, something sure. When I slipped back into bed, Matthew stirred almost instantly, as if his body sensed me before his mind caught up. His arm found me, pulling me close, protective even in sleep. "Everything all right?" he murmured, his voice husky with drowsiness, amber eyes blinking open to catch mine. I smiled faintly, resting my head against his chest. His heartbeat drummed beneath my ear, strong and grounding. "It will be," I whispered. "With you." Days blurred into weeks. Matthew healed swiftly, his werewolf blood stitching bone and flesh back together faster than any human doctor could fathom. Yet it wasn't just his body mending. Each night, under the lingering pull of the full moon, we held onto each other, the bond knitting tighter, transforming what had once been a quiet obligation into something alive, something burning. Every brush of skin, every whispered word, wove a truth neither of us could deny. But the shadows weren't gone. They lingered at the edges of our new beginning. Leo survived, saved by Isabel's mark, his desperation binding them together. He reached out to me again and again, apologies spilling into long messages, begging for forgiveness. Each one was a blade twisted in old scars. I blocked his number. That chapter was finished. Isabel, now his mate, wore her triumph like a crown, her smug little taunts slithering into every encounter until Matthew silenced her with a single word. One look, one command, and her bravado crumbled. The Ice King had spoken, and she didn't dare test him again. One evening, as twilight bled into night, we sat together on the balcony of his estate. The air smelled of pine and cold stone. The world stretched wide and quiet beneath a silver crescent moon. Matthew turned to me, his amber gaze softened, though intensity still burned beneath. He reached for my hand, his thumb brushing slow circles over my skin. "Chloe," he said, his voice low, certain. "The blood bond ties me to you forever. But I don't want just that. I want you to choose me, not because of the bond, not because of what I did for you, because you want this. Every day." I leaned in, my lips meeting his in a kiss that spoke the words my heart had been whispering all along. When I drew back, I rested my forehead against his and breathed the truth. "I already have." The full moon climbed higher, silver spilling over us, the hum of the bond thrumming stronger than ever. But now it wasn't a chain. It wasn't sacrifice or obligation. It was love, fierce and chosen, a fire we both stepped into willingly. For the first time in years, maybe for the first time in my life, it was mine.
Truly mine.